Hey, I'm not surprised, motherfuckers.
What's up, guys? We're the Courtside Soundoff podcast today. I'm Josh Ivanoff. He's Angel Ortega. It is a glorious day. We're coming off of, an amazing UFC main event last Saturday night, coming off of an amazing Game 1 with the Heat and the Celtics. NFL kickoff weekend was last weekend, and probably the best news, the biggest collapse ever with the Nuggets and the Clippers. Before we get into that, I would talk to you guys about Rogue Energy. This episode of the Courtside Soundoff podcast is brought to you by Rogue Energy. Rogue Energy was founded in January of 2017 to be the best gaming drink in the world. They've developed a premium snack in the form of a delicious energy and focus drink. It is designed to replace unhealthy canned energy drinks, coffee, and even traditional pre-workouts. Rogue Energy is sugar-free and is loaded with vitamins, antioxidants, and nootropics. They are designed, Rogue Energy, for the emerging professional competitive gaming market. It continues to have fantastic carryover and success with students, athletes, entrepreneurs, and anyone looking to optimize mental and physical performance. If you want 10% off your order, use the code SOUNDOFF at checkout. That's code SOUNDOFF at checkout for 10% off of all your energy needs. Huge fan of Rogue Energy, amazing sponsor of the podcast. As I mentioned always, they're actually really, really good. Slap that G Fuel shit out of here. Rogue Energy is much better. So, Anyways, last Saturday night, UFC Vegas 10, finally getting out of the Apex after this week's event, but still at the UFC Apex in Las Vegas. The main event, Michelle Waterson edging out Angela Hill, and about as close to a fight as it gets. Normally, I'm the guy who comes on here and talks about how bullshit fights are when it comes to judging and how terrible robberies are. I will say, I thought Angela Hill won it. I thought she took rounds 1, 2, and 5. Michelle Waterson, I thought she was getting tuned up on the feet in the rounds 1 and 2. Hill was walking forward with constant pressure, landing that right hand a lot, actually, specifically. Rounds 3 and 4, Waterson kind of took over with her grappling, and the round 5 was pretty back and forth. I did thought that, Angela Hill, she kept the fight on the feet. I thought she took it with her constant pressure, and I thought she was landing the cleaner shots, but at the end of the day, very close fight. Angel, I'll throw it right to you. What did you think of the main event, and what did you think about the judging? Because I saw a lot of people pretty mad about it, but I thought it was pretty clean.
I'll be honest, I was on the go. I was trying to watch the UFC event on the go. So, that already made it difficult. But, it's no secret. Going back and watching clips, it's close fight from start to end. They never looked like there was a clear superior person in the fight. At least personally, that's how I felt. It wasn't Michel Pereira like last week, where he was just, dancing around, slapping people on the head, messing around, rolling thunder kicks, it was nothing like that, it was back and forth, they scrapped in the middle, clinched each other. They both did it. They both clinched on the cage, and and they were, and during the takedown exchanges, there was, even with the takedown, there was still some contestant, there. It wasn't like fully given. So, from start to end, it was not definitely a given win to the winner by all. And like I said, it's a hard fight to score. Maybe if I ever need to, if you ever need to be like, dang, if I need to watch that back, if you ever say I need to play that back or watch that round back, it's probably a hard fight to score if you can't decisively say, okay, I can decisively give this round to this person and this person. I think personally, that's how I feel about it. As far as scoring, if there's ever a time you need to be like, something, maybe I need to rewatch that specific round, or maybe I should, rewatch all these specific rounds, or just rewatch the fight in general. It's probably a hard fight to score if you can't decisively make a decision, at least when it comes to scoring. And it's hard because, obviously you're in the moment, there's a lot of factors. There's just a lot there. So, like I said, we talk about judging, like, multiple times throughout the year, and our opinion on it, and how bullshit it is, or how accurate sometimes it might have been, but might have not been.
Yeah, it's definitely, it was a tough fight to score. I think generally speaking, I mean, we talk about judges a few times a year, like you said, and generally speaking, whenever we talk about it, it tends to be egregious. You know what I mean? Like, I'm talking Jones, Reyes, stuff like that. And obviously, some people thought John Jones won. Very few of them. All of them are apparently judges in Texas, but we do have bad judging. I thought this was a fine case of judging. I did not agree. Outside of, let me say this real quickly. Outside of the 49-46 card from Saldamato, if Saldamato legitimately thought Michelle Waterson won that fight 49-46, he should be banned and get his eyes checked. Because I'm not sure. At the bare minimum, it was 2 rounds apiece. I've never seen. The 5th round was what it came down to, but I thought the first 2 rounds were cleanly for Hill, and the last 2, the middle 2, were clearly for Waterson. I don't see how you could judge it any other way. Round 5 is what it all comes down to. But outside of that one scorecard, pretty fine cards. It was 48-47 for both of them.
You took it unanimously? Oh, it was split. Okay.
It was a split.
Okay.
I believe it was a split, but I do know the one of the judges that gave it to Waterson gave it 49-46, which was pretty bullshit. Co-main event had no real controversy. Kama Worthy, who's been one of the funner stories of 2020. I mean, there's been a lot of shitty stuff this year, but Kama Worthy has been one of the few bright spots, and it's kind of weird to think about because he was a massive underdog coming in last year facing Devontae Smith, who's a really highly regarded prospect. I mean, the guy was, I think 10-1 going into that fight, and had won 3 fights in a row in the UFC. And then, Kama Worthy knocks him out, and then he's facing Luis Pena, another decently rated prospect, and he chokes out Luis Pena. So, I mean, he was an underdog guy, and he was pretty much a journeyman getting into the UFC, and he was making some waves. Alman Azatar put a stop to all of that, knocking him out inside the first round. It was hard to watch. I mean, generally speaking, I saw some people were like, oh, maybe it was a bit early. Man, Alman Azatar put a beating on him, and he was stumbling all around. It was a amazing performance by him. We knew the dude had power. He knocked out Teemu Packalén in his UFC debut, which, to be fair, everybody does that to poor Teemu Packalén in the UFC. But regardless, he showed how much power he has. How impressed were you by Alman Azatar?
It was quick, man. It did not allow him to maintain that distance at all, like we had talked about. Did exactly what he had to do to prevent that from happening, and just went in and just laid waste on this man in a matter of seconds. It was quick. I was surprised, because I'm like, maybe they'll come in with the game plan, or play it out, but a knockout in the first round, or even if TKO in the first round is always impressive, especially if it's within the first 2 minutes. It's just insanity.
Yeah, it was a pretty insane finish. I mean, I wasn't sure what I was expecting. Generally going into a co-main event with fighters at that few amount of fights, you're not really sure how it's gonna go. But still, I was still pretty surprised that it was that quick. In terms of a fight that went longer, I like saying friend of the podcast. I know Angel's never talked to Roxanne Modafferi. I talked to her once after.
I have been, but she just never talked back. At least I thought I was talking to her, but maybe I wasn't.
I said what's up at an Invicta event because she was cornering Serena Southpaw, who's a very good follow on Twitter, fun prospect, and she was also cornered other people at Invicta. She's there pretty much all the time because she's one of the main coaches at her camp. But I say friend of the podcast. We have no real connection to her. But friend of the podcast, Roxanne Modafferi, picked up another win. This girl, she just by skills, she's not one of the most talented. Her stand-up is extremely awkward. She's never gotten a real knockout finish. Like, she's taken people down and TKO'd them before, but she has no real power on the feet. Her grappling's awkward, her wrestling's awkward. But goddamn, does she win fights? Okay, another win. This time over Andrea KGB Lee, who, in my opinion, one of the best people in that division, straight up, especially striking. I mean, she lost 2 in a row heading into that. But if you guys look at the MMA decisions on those 2 fights, Joanne Calderwood and Lauren Murphy, the Lauren Murphy fight was one of the worst robberies I've ever seen, which coincidentally also on the John Jones Reyes card earlier this year. One of the many terrible decisions. But this is a straight-up clean win by Roxy. How proud are you of friend of the podcast, Roxanne Modafferi.
I was so happy, man. She pulled it back. I know she's been on a win-lose type streak. I mean, but at least the one thing that always makes me happy with her is that she's like never getting knocked out, or anything. She's going to distance, and we know she'll be back.
Yeah, she puts herself right in line to get another big fight. I mean, full props to her, my man. She keeps on chugging along. She keeps on getting into those opportunities where, I mean, I don't think the rankings have come out yet, but I know that she's within the top 10, probably going to be facing another highly regarded prospect or another big fight next. Is there anything else on the undercard you want to talk about?
No, personally, nothing. Well, actually, no. Actually, I do want to highlight something on the prelims. I don't know if you saw this. Alexander Romanov versus Martinez. Dude, what, first of all, what a beating.
It's hard to watch.
It was kind of hard to watch. The takedown happens at some point. I don't remember if it was the first round or second round. It was just bad. It just unleashes on this man's head. And then follows it up by doing it in the following round again. It was just terrible, man. But it was really impressive. Some potential there, I don't know. Not calling it early, but certainly he was fun to watch this fight. Hope to see him again soon.
Yeah, and he may have not looked it, but Roque Martinez is a pretty good fighter. I mean, he's not the most in shape guy, but at heavyweight, I mean, what are you gonna do? But he's
not the same.
For pretty much. Me too, man. But he's got some skills. I mean, he fought in Ryzen a bit. He has skills on the feet. He went pretty far. Lost to Cop, I believe. He beat Jerome. He has some nice wins on his record. But he got absolutely tooled. And, not like I said, don't want to call it early. I don't want to ruin this guy's career. But Alexander Romanov looking like a decent prospect at 265. Jalen Turner, Brock Weaver was a banger, but fight if you guys haven't seen that one. Same thing for Brian Barberena, Anthony Ivy. Kevin Kroom, Kansas City zone. Kevin Kroom getting a massive upset. One of the biggest ones of the year. Submitting Roosevelt Roberts inside of 30 seconds. Sajara Eubanks versus Julia Avila was an absolute war. King Bobby Green getting another win, third of the year. Billy Q picking up a win over Kyle Nelson. And finally, Ed Herman this is a huge controversy. I'm not sure if you saw this one. Ed Herman, Mike Rodriguez landed a knee to the body that really should have finished the fight. It seemed like a pretty clear knee to the body, too. Instead, the ref called it as a low blow to Ed Herman. Ed Herman got time to recover instead of being finished. Comes back in the third round and gets a massive Kimura for the win. Huge controversy. Should have lost that fight. But don't look now. 39-year-old Ed Herman, been fighting the UFC since 2006, is now on a 3-fight winning streak. You can make a legitimate case that he should be, in the rankings. He's the second longest uninterrupted tenure in the UFC, behind only Diego Sanchez. And this man keeps on chugging along. Let's hope Diego's fighting, I want to say maybe 2 weeks from now. We'll see if he can pick up a win.
Yeah.
The old
Oh, boy. He's on a 2-win streak, too, isn't he?
I think he's won 3 or 4. He's taking on Jake Matthews. I want to say that's on the Izzy card.
Oh, boy.
It's either
Granted. Man.
Yeah, it's on the Izzy card.
It's crazy.
And one of those was a DQ.
I mean, 2 of those are strange.
All of them were strange.
Okay, yeah, you're right.
Any Diego Sanchez fight is strange, man. But moving on, the real, big event this week. Obviously, we have the NBA going on, but if we're being completely honest, the biggest event is Colby Covington, Tyron Woodley. This is a grudge match. These two, it really sucks that we're not getting this fight whenever it should have happened. I mean, this fight should have happened probably 3 times before. I mean, off the top of my head, it should happen at 228. Darren Till stepped in for Colby. And then at 235, Usman stepped in for Colby, which what a weird thing to think about, that we could have gotten this fight so many other times. But instead, now we're getting it a little bit less stakes. I mean, both these guys, instead of being for a title, it's happening in an empty arena where both of them have come off losses, including Woodley, who's come off of 2 really, really bad losses. He's lost 10 straight rounds. But, if there's a single fight that can get Tyron Woodley going, it's against Colby Covington. These two have hated each other for years. A lot of the time, Colby's beefs tend to be, they're not really real beefs. He's playing a character, but him and Woodley actually have legit beef. I know they've known each other. They've trained together. They've known each other for a very long time. And if there's anybody who's able to get under Tyron Woodley's skin, it is absolutely Colby Covington. Obviously, Covington's coming off a loss to Kamaru Usman, but outside of that, I mean, beat Lawler, Dos Anjos, Maia, Dong Haeyeon Kim, Brian Barberena, Mike Pyle. He's had so many wins on his record that are just phenomenal. And Woodley, the former UFC champ, obviously lost 2 in a row before that. You know, he was on pace to be one of the greatest welterweights ever. You can make a damn good case that he is number 2 behind GSP. I would not agree with that, but you can make the case. I mean, Darren Till, Stephen Thompson, Damian Maia, Robbie Lawler, Kelvin Gastelum, Dong Haeyeon, Koscheck, Jordan Meehan, Paul Daly. Keeps on going. And I feel like a lot of people forget that. That being said, 2 very bad losses in a row. Colby Covington is the heavy favorite. I'll throw it right to you. Do you think he should be as big of a favorite as he is, and do you have him winning on Saturday night?
I mean, it's no surprise right after the recent Woodley performances we've been getting, but I always try to have faith, in the champions and whether or not they're older, right? Because it's like they've been there, they know it. There's a reason they were the best in the world at one point, right? But granted, Woodley has looked really, really bad, the last couple of times, Granted, it's only 2, right? And it's the Burns who's not challenging, right? And then Kamaru who won the title. But before that, he was, well, he was on top. He was the top of the world. He was killing it. He was beating all those names you just named off, and he was killing it. I mean, there was nothing that could stop him at that point. Until not too long ago, then the Kamaru pulled up, and now Burns, and I think this should be a closer fight than what we think. But if history serves us right, and the way he has looked the last 2 fights continues to be the same, we should have Colby come out on top. Now, if there's some sort of change in himself or something has occurred within him, I feel like Woodley could maybe turn it around here and beat Colby and maybe have some sort of resurgence again. Not saying he's out, because he's definitely he's right up there. I mean, he's losing to the 2 guys who are on top of the world winning right now. And if he lost to Colby here, he would be losing to the guy who just fought Kamaru not too long ago for the title and gave him a banger of a fight, So in my opinion, no matter what, maybe it shouldn't be, maybe Colby shouldn't be as heavy as a favorite as he is, but I can see why it might be going that way. I am going to take Colby just because of how Tyron's looked his last 2 fights. Not to, and I'm just saying that because of the way they've looked. Something could change here, though. I wouldn't have an issue with being absolutely incorrect, and that could very possibly, that could very well happen here. But we'll have to see how it goes. Let's see how it plays out Saturday night.
I mean, listen, I really want to believe, man. I really want to believe that Woodley's going to come out and he's going to look like the Woodley of 2016. Woodley's always been a hesitant fighter, but never to the degree of his last few fights. It's kind of, obviously it's 2 fights, right? But he looks like the most washed I've seen a champion right after losing their belt. I mean, he doesn't pull the trigger, and for a lot of fighters, that's the first sign that you see of maybe they should retire, because they don't pull the trigger anymore. They don't throw. They're scared of getting hit, or maybe there's something, that fire's gone, and they just don't throw. And Woodley's always been a hesitant guy, but I think to a certain extent, it's getting really, really bad of him not throwing. I'm going to take Colby here. I think he should be a massive favorite. I think that, even if this fight took place in, 2016, I might give Colby the edge. Probably not. I think his striking's improved significantly since then. But he's really, which got some breaking news which we're about to talk about, which is huge later on. Angel sent me the tweet, which I'm hyped for this, man. But yeah, man, I'm gonna take Covington here. Moving on to the co-main event. Listen, this is about as good as a fight we're ever gonna get in the UFC. I think this has potential for fight of the year, or maybe just an amazing finish. Cowboy Cerrone, one of the all-time leader in wins, finishes, performance bonuses. I don't think he's actually performance bonuses, but he's up there. He's been a part of so many amazing fights over the years, taking on our boy, friend of the podcast. I can say that because he follows me on Twitter, about as good as it's going to get. Nico Price. Obviously, Nico Price is the most entertaining non-ranked fighter in the UFC. I don't think he's ever been ranked, but the dude is just so fucking fun to watch. He's never gone to a decision. And his fight earlier this year against Vicente Luque, which was on the first UFC card back in May after COVID began, probably one of my favorite fights of the year. That was a banger, and people forget it because it was on the early prelims. But goddamn, that fight was fun. But this one, honestly, for me, is a bit of a toss-up. This is probably the best person, if maybe not the best person exactly, but the most accomplished person Nico Price has faced to date. Who do you got in the co-main event?
You know, it's crazy as it sounds. I think this is a hard one to call, you know.
Absolutely.
You know, we're talking, you know, at this point in Cowboy's career, you know, kind of the way things are going, and, you know, Nico is, you know, not exceptionally great, but definitely, you know, not a bad fighter, you know, because obviously he's made it to UFC, he's fought against, you know, pretty good opponents, maybe hasn't, you know, come out on top. But as far as a fun fight, you're not wrong. This is a really fun fight for Cowboy, and I think we came up with ideas earlier this year, and we threw some stuff out there, and you know, I'm happy they came up with this because I never would have thought about this, and it just works well. As far as my decision, I don't know. I want to pick Cowboy, you know, just because, you know, we want to see the, you know, as much as it would be better for Nico to come out and win here and succeed and get a big win over Cowboy, and that would look really good on his resume. You know, Cowboy still has it in him where he can season anybody up, man. He'll piece someone up even at his age now. He showed it, you know, what was it, a year ago now, you know, when he was, you know, maybe these last 2 years when he was, you know, kind of building his way up and kind of found a success where he's fighting all these top guys, you know, late into his career. So maybe that's why I want to pick Cowboy, because Cowboy just put on a performance for us this last year. I mean, just taking like everybody on, man. Like you can even date it back to you know, it doesn't stop, man. High level after high level fight. I mean, it probably since 2017. I mean, that's when it carries on till 2020. Hasn't stopped. And maybe now with Nico, it's kind of the first, maybe not the highest level, but a guy who will put on a show, you know, and I'm sure will bring it to Cowboy and make it difficult for him.
Yeah, I mean, I'm super torn on this one, and it's such a hard fight to pick, man. Because you got Nico on one hand, who's an amazingly fun fighter, and he's beaten some good names. I mean, he has, you know, some decent names on his record. I mean, he's lost to the biggest people in his career, but, you know, Randy Brown's a good win, George Sullivan, Joe Bond's a good win, Brandon Thatch, James Vick. He has, he's a really, really fun fighter, and he has some good wins, but generally speaking, Cowboy is the accomplished guy here. It'd be easier to pick Cowboy. But I think I'm gonna go Nico Price, and I think I'm gonna go Nico for no other reason. This is really, really stupid. No other reason than the fact that he alternates wins and losses. There's just something he does. His last, ever since 2018, he knocked out Randy Brown, and then he lost to Abdul Razak Al Hassan. He beat Tim Means, and then he lost to Jeff Neal. He beat James Vick, and he lost to Vicente Luque earlier this year, and I thought he looked arguably the best he's ever looked. He was winning that fight until the third round, whenever he got stopped by the doctor. So I'm going to take Nico Price here for, I think, an upset. I don't know if he's the favorite, but I'm going to say it's an upset. So fuck it.
Okay, and then, I don't know if I said my pick or not, but I'll clear it up. Cowboy. I'm going to go with Cowboy.
All right, fair enough. So we are finally split on a fight for the first time in a while. Moving on. Listen, this is not, we only pick the main and the co-mains, but dude, Kazmat Chimaev is back. he's taking on Gerald Meerschaert. I'm not going to ask for your pick, but I will ask this. He's obviously such a highly rated prospect. But do you think that booking him, because he's double booked at the moment. People don't know this. He's supposed to fight Damian Maia on Fight Island in a month. He's double booked right now. Do you think that do you think it's like a smart idea or a bad idea to have double booked fighting Gerald Meerschaert and then Damian Maia? Is that a smart decision for his career?
This is a double-edged sword. This could either be the most 200 IQ play by the UFC and Chimaev, because it's like he's getting right in there. He's building his way up real quick. I think that's the best way to describe it. This could be like the biggest double-edged sword ever. Because it could work so well. It works so well, but it could definitely be the worst mistake the UFC's done when it comes to a young prospect.
Yeah, I mean, he's such a highly rated prospect. He is the most hype I've seen of anybody in a long time. I mean, him on Fight Island, he's here to smash and all that, and he fought in back-to-back weeks and all that. So the dude is such a highly rated prospect. I don't know if he gets past Gerald Meerschaert though. I think it's a tough fight for him. I think Gerald's he's kind of a dark horse for anybody in the division. If you beat him, you're probably a top 15 guy. If you're not beating him, then you're probably not going to go any past. He has stopped hype trains before. Jevin Giles and Deron Wynn were both on nice winning streaks before he faced him. So we'll see what happens there. Is there anything else on the undercard you want to talk about?
Nothing. Well, our boy Johnny Walker's back, man. Johnny Walker versus Ryan Spann. Man, yeah. Ryan Spann building his way up quickly, isn't he?
Yeah. You know what, man? Everybody's talking about Johnny Walker heading into that fight. I see a very reasonable chance in Ryan Spann getting the win. I think Johnny Walker's the favorite. He's the story. But bro, and I get it. Johnny Walker, he's an exciting guy. I mean, he's lost 2 in a row, but the Krylov fight, most people don't even know that it happened because it happened on the week that COVID entered the United States and everything was getting shut down, so nobody gave a shit. And then he lost to Corey Anderson, which no shame in that. But Ryan Spann has been consistently winning for a while now. He's won like 7 fights in a row, beat Sam Alvey, Devin Clark, Little Nog. He's got some wins on there, man. Don't be surprised if Ryan Spann, upsets Johnny Walker this weekend. And then as for the rest of the card, Mackenzie Dern's back. I'm a huge fan of Mackenzie Dern. Her grappling and her jiu-jitsu is absolutely incredible. I mean, the girl's just so good on the mat. Taking on Randa Marcos, which is a really good test for her. Kevin Holland's back. Jessica Rose Clark is back. Andre Ewell taking on Erwin Rivera. Andre Ewell is kind of one of those guys that I've always kind of had earmarked as a decent prospect, and things haven't exactly gone his way, but still only 2 losses in the UFC are Nathaniel Wood and Marlon Vera, not bad at all. Also has a win over Renan Barão in his career. Tyson back. So is Miguel Baeza. Tyson Nam, one of the hardest hitting flyweights in the division. That should be fun for him. That should be a fun fight. He's fighting on the early prelims. So that's all we got for UFC talk this week, although there is some UFC news, breaking news, according to the Nose. Ariel Helwani, obviously Tony Ferguson, Dustin Poirier was supposed to go down at UFC 254. However, apparently, according to the UFC, Dustin Poirier has, basically Dana said something along the lines of, there's ways of rejecting a fight and pricing yourself out is one of them. Basically, Dustin Poirier apparently wanted a lot more money to take on Tony Ferguson. I assume after, going through an absolute war and going through so much stuff, he wanted to get paid more. Apparently, the now leading replacement to take on Tony Ferguson on this card is current free agent, former 2-time Bellator lightweight champion, Michael Chandler. There's a lot to take away from this. 2 questions, though. 1, is this the right matchup? I mean, obviously, Tony Ferguson is a former interim champion. He's one of the top guys in the division. And now you're bringing in this former Bellator guy, and very rarely have you seen somebody thrown to the sharks like this. I mean, Eddie Alvarez, when he came to the UFC after Bellator, he faced Donald Cerrone whenever Cerrone was at the top of the division. But I've never really seen anything like this. Is this the right move to throw him in there with the number 1 guy? I mean, probably number 2, I think, in the division at this point.
I mean, man, it's a tough call, because we're talking about a guy who's, formerly champ, guy who was like, if there was anybody to do it anywhere else, it'd be him and it'd be in the UFC, So it's like, it makes somewhat sense, but at the same time, I feel like no matter what they would want to throw him at one of these guys, I don't think they would want to build him up too much, because he's not he's not saying he's old, but he's not extremely young either. So they would have to throw him. I think if they would want to build him up, they would have to start with I don't know. It's hard because maybe a Kevin Lee, Alec Quinta, one of those guys.
I was thinking Alec Quinta for his first fight, but that is not the direction they want to go apparently.
Yeah, no. But those guys down there, in the floating between single digit and double digit rankings would make sense. Who are not like kind of going back and forth. They're not top 3, top 4.
Yeah. And, I kind of agree. I think them throwing him to the Wolves, it makes sense because he is 34. He's been around in the game for a while. And, he's a guy who's been fighting in Bellator, but he's not some scrub. He's 21-5, 2-time Bellator champion. I think 3-time maybe, actually. But, wins over Marcin Held, Pachuki Ferre, Eddie, twice, by the way, Eddie Alvarez, David Rickles, Derek Campos, Benson Henderson twice, Brandon Gertz. The dude has a lot of nice wins on his record. He's a very accomplished guy, but I'm not sure if him getting thrown to the Wolves is really, really smart. I will ask you, though, who gets the edge in that potential matchup? Who would you favor?
Oh, man. I feel like it's going to be hard to bet it against Tony because just the way Tony's been talking and in the way he is, I imagine that he'll come back better. After that Gaethje loss, I think he's unsatisfied with himself. He wants more out of it. He wants to fight. He wanted to fight Dustin when that was they were trying to figure out the contract, and he was telling him like, pay the man. I want to fight the man. Please pay the man. So he's ready. He's ready for whoever it may be. He just needs time, the preparation, and the date, and he'll be there. So I think I might edge it out for Tony, but it that's a dog coming into the UFC. A guy who is a complete not necessarily unknown, but an unknown within the UFC. As in fighting guys within the UFC. If that makes any sense.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
Personally, I'm kind of on the same wavelength. If I were to force to pick this matchup, I would absolutely probably put my ball in Tony's court. I think he's a guy that last time he lost, he came back better than ever. I'm not sure if that's going to happen again. I don't think it's going to happen to that degree. I think Tony's in his late 30s now. Maybe he's only like 35. Maybe I'm aging him out. You know what I mean? Maybe he's only like 35. He's 36. Okay. So I'm not sure if he's going to get back to that level where, like, after he lost to Michael Johnson, he went on this insane run where he was just evolving every fight, improving every fight inside camp, during the fights, you know what I mean? Taking everything to the next level. I'm not sure if that's going to happen again. I do think it's enough to be Michael Chandler, though. Chandler hits really, really hard. He's an amazing wrestler. But there's little things about his game that I think Tony Ferguson could really exploit. I think in terms of the scrambles, I think Tony's really good in scrambles, and Chandler's a really high-level wrestler, but he leaves himself open to submissions a lot. And, Chandler goes in there, and he tries to bang sometimes, and the dude doesn't have the best chin. He's been through a lot of wars, and so is Tony, but Tony's just... Obviously, also, Tony's coming off of a shitload of injuries. He got absolutely destroyed in that Gaethje fight, broken orbital, everything. So we're going to have to see, man. We're looking at the potential championship version of Tony Ferguson. We don't know what he's going to look like after the Gaethje loss. But moving on, I want to tell you guys real quick about Fight Plus. Fight Plus provides a special selection of premium events of boxing, MMA, pro wrestling, and other combat sports. Watch your events. Over 25 promotions, 30 days after airing. Fight Plus includes organizations like Brave FC, Unified MMA, UC MMA, CZW, BKB, FSW, BCB Boxing, Cumberland, and much, much more are available for your viewing pleasure. Cancel at any time. If you guys want a free Fight Plus 7-day free trial, go to the link that is available on our website. You can find the free trial and enjoy 7 free days of fighting. If you don't cancel after that, you will be charged. However, if you guys want to enjoy 7 free days of fighting, an amazing service over with our partners at Fight TV, go ahead and do that. And now, moving on to the NBA. What can we say? Now, last time whenever we were talking about the Raptors and the Celtics still playing, and they're going to a Game 7, I believe, on the day that we uploaded it. And that game was incredible. And obviously ended up being the Celtics coming out on top. And I think one of the biggest storylines coming out of that series was kind of how bad Pascal Siakam was, particularly in Game 7. Now, in all fairness, he was better than the other superstars, which we're going to be talking about in a couple of minutes. But were you a little bit disappointed? Now, obviously, he's very young. He has a lot of time to develop. Were you a little bit disappointed in his playoff performance that led to them pretty much being bounced?
And I didn't watch all the games, but I heard about his lack of, he just wasn't fully there had he had been in the past. And granted, he's still young, just made the playoffs. What is it? Was it his first or second time last year, right?
Yeah.
One with a great player by his side and a great team. I mean, just a great story, right? Obviously year 2 is always harder. After you win, the next year is always, the harder because it's like, can they do it again? You have to come back and, can you bring back the same guys? Can you guys perform the same level? And personally, I thought that the Heat Raptors series would have been more interesting. But granted, we're not going to talk about it yet. But the Heat and Celtics did play, and it was a really good game. So I might be mistaken, but personally, I would have thought, that would have been better. But no matter what, I'm sure both teams would have gave a great series, and one of them really already is.
Yeah, and you kind of mentioned it, that now we're getting Heat Celtics, and he just went up one game in overtime. One of the best games of the year, to be straight up. I mean, it was an awesome, awesome game. Particularly Bam at the end getting the massive block to pretty much seal the deal in OT. I mean, it was an awesome game. But generally we're gonna give a quick predictions preview for that series. And generally speaking, I have no idea who to pick here. I mean, we give our predictions, and we've been right about pretty much every single. I don't think we've disagreed on a team winning a series and been wrong outside of, Clippers and Nuggets. But listen, man, I'm extremely torn on who to pick in this series. I mean, obviously, I think the Celtics are the top-heavy team. I think they have the better stars, and Tatum and Brown and all those guys. They're absolutely killing it right now, and they're probably going to get Gordon Hayward back in this series as well. So I'd say top-heavy for sure, but overall talent, man, I mean, that's going to be close. The Miami Heat, the way they play with their defensive ability and the construct. Because here's the thing about the Miami Heat: if you slow down one or two of them, there's still 3 or 4 more dudes out there scoring buckets. You're gonna have to rely on the overall team just disappointing as opposed to one player with Pascal and Toronto. And I would say they have other weapons too, but whenever you have one player who's just really, really disappointing, that tends to be the downfall of your team, especially if that guy's at the number one. In this situation, the Heat have so many different dudes who are contributing. Tyler Herro has been huge for this team. Goran Dragic has been amazing. So Bam is another one, and then obviously Jimmy Buckets. So, and there's other players who contribute too. I mean, they just have so much talent on the defensive side of the ball. But I'm still not sure who to pick, so I'll throw it straight to you. Who do you got in the Heat and Celtics series?
Man, I'm still going to take the Heat in 6, man. I think they're still riding their way. Obviously, the Celtics are not going to go down easily, and if they did, I'd be very surprised. They've shown a lot of heart. That the team has kind of meshed together. Like I said earlier, when Hayward went down, I felt like the team looked better now that Hayward is out of the picture. So if he does come back, I don't know. Maybe that could mess things up. Maybe that can be an improvement. Personally, I think the team is doing better now that he's not here, at least in the playoffs. I think they're kind of riding, a better wave without him. And it's no hate to him, but it's just, for some reason, it's just him and the team, and it's just not meshing. It's not that he's a bad player or anything. It's just, I think it's him and just kind of, the puzzle, that piece of the puzzle just doesn't fit for some reason.
Yeah, and I think Gordon Hayward coming back may be a bit of an issue. I think that generally speaking, he was huge to that team in the regular season, but it's the idea of maybe having too many mouths to feed. I mean, sometimes that's just something that, people say about teams. I remember whenever KD went to Golden State, some people were like, oh, maybe there's too many mouths to feed. There's too many people that need the ball, but obviously that was not the case, and that was never going to be the case. I think there's a situation where that could be the case, because Gordon Hayward's not exactly the best contributor on the defensive side of the ball. He's coming off an injury. If you throw him in there expecting to be that 20 points a game starter he was in the regular season coming off an injury, that's not going to happen. So it really just depends on if they just ease him in there or if they're going to throw him in there. Because if they ease him in there, hell yeah, man. Gordon Hayward coming off the bench, giving you 15, 20 minutes a game, I'm sure he can give you some solid buckets for sure. But I think if they're going to throw him straight back in there with their current lineup, I think their current lineup's probably arguably better without him. I mean, even in 2018, I believe, they went to the Eastern Conference Finals without Gordon Hayward and Kyrie. And I think that was probably more, just insane contribute, and everybody else playing insane as opposed to just saying Gordon Hayward sucks. But you know what I mean? He's always been kind of an interesting fit in Boston. He's never really been that amazing. He's never been as good as we hoped he could be, which, again, a lot of that you contribute to coming off of a broken freaking leg. But, at the end of the day, we'll still have to see what happens. I'm going to go Heat in 7. I just think the Heat, man, they're riding a wave, and that they're never going to die. And I think the Celtics show in the Raptors series that they're not really the best at getting teams out of there. And I feel like you're not going to get this Heat team out of there, man. They're they're fighting hard as hell, and I just don't see them leaving, man. They're coming off of a series where they won in 5 games against a 2-time MVP and the number 1 seed. Like, that's absolutely insane to me. And now they're the first. I mean, I can't remember the last time there was a 5 seed in the finals of any series. I mean, I'm not talking East. I'm not even talking finals straight up. I'm talking Eastern and Western. I can't remember the last time there was one. I mean, the Cavs in 2018 were the 4 seed, I think, or 2017, something along those lines. So, but still, last time there was a 5 seed in the finals, I don't remember. But I am going to take them to get there. I think the Heat are going to make it in 7. And moving on to the next series, I was watching ESPN this morning, and for the record, we film this typically on Wednesdays or Thursdays. And last night was the Nuggets and Clippers, 7-game, game 7, whatever. And I saw Perk get up there talking about how it was the biggest disappointment and, not really one of the biggest upsets and one of the biggest disappointments of a team we've seen in arguably NBA history. And normally I'm not the guy who agrees with ESPN hot takes, but I actually think I pretty much agree with this one. The Los Angeles Clippers, last time we got on here, they were up 3-1. And with that ability and that team, there's no reason why it should have gone more than 5 games with the Clippers winning. Instead, here we are filming Wednesday a week later, and the Los Angeles Clippers, led by 2 of the greatest players in the league, have been bounced in 7 by one big man. And Jokic and the Nuggets. Listen, man, what do you have to say? What do you think about this whole thing? I mean, how embarrassing. First of all, we'll give the Nuggets their props, but how embarrassing is this for the Los Angeles Clippers?
I mean, man, it's heartbreaking. I mean, they were probably 1-2 with the Lakers as favorites. Just obviously because the Lakers have LeBron, and it's insanity, man. I thought that it was they had it in the bag. I thought we were gonna get Clippers Lakers in the end, but I didn't watch the game. I didn't get to see the downfall. I was just confident about it. I knew it'd be a good series, and man, that last game, 104-89. I mean, I just don't know what happened. I didn't get to see it, but it's a disappointment. Credit to the Nuggets, like you said. But man, yeah, not a good look. Not a good look at all for the team who I thought were going to be probably the NBA champs.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, we never really show our hand as the terms to before the week comes where we give predictions. We never really give predictions, but I know for a fact that we're probably both leaning towards the Clippers making it out of the West. I mean, I don't like the Clippers, but I think talent-wise, like just their bench and their overall starting lineup is absolutely insane. There's no reason for them not to have made it. And instead, here we are. Then they just got bounced, man. I mean, they were arguably the favorites to me. I did not see even the Lakers, because I thought the Lakers are very much a hot and cold team. Instead, it ended up being the Clippers who would end up being bounced. And now we're going to get Nuggets and Lakers, which never in a million years. Like, listen, of all the possible matchups, and we both said the Nuggets were a dark horse team, and full props to them because they went off, man. To be back-to-back in both series, down 3-1 against the Jazz with Mike Conley and Donovan Mitchell and that amazing squad winning, coming back, going down 3-1 again to Kawhi Leonard and PG-13, Paul George. It's just absolutely insane to come back twice in a row. But now here they are. They're going with LeBron and Anthony Davis, and they have the Lakers just anytime they're past the game 1, they go on an absolute warpath. And I feel like part of it is maybe they've had an easier road to the finals. I think that the Blazers and the Rockets are both really, really easy. Not easy necessarily, but they're better matchups for them. Just generally speaking, I think they could single in on 1 to 2 superstars and just kind of filter out the rest. Do you think that the Nuggets are going to be a hard matchup for the Lakers, and do you see them potentially winning?
I mean, there's no reason, and I'm not saying this to give away my answer or anything, but there is no reason why they can't. After everything they've been through, the adversity, the showmanship, the stardom, the rise of Jamal and really coming into the light. It's showtime, literally. There's a time to do it. It's now. It's the ball is in their court now. In a way, if I don't know how else to word it, it's this is their opportunity to take to take it all the way. Yeah, no, yeah, you're right. That's really what it is.
It's just
As funny and as corny as it sounds, and as a joke as it may be, it's 100% true. And we said it from the start. And I mean, the two teams who we believed were like the team that could come out at any point and make that upset and make that change were the Nuggets and the Heat, and we might get that here soon. I think it's just going to be a matter of who's hungrier, and I can almost be confident in saying that one of those two teams will win this year's NBA championship.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the West has always generally been the favorite over the East, especially. I mean, last year was pretty much the exception. I mean, before that though, we had the Warriors dominating, and we had just outside of like super teams, like the super teams LeBron's been in the East. It's always been the West has always been the stronger conference, but I feel like whoever comes out of this is probably the favorite. And I think the Nuggets, they do have the ability, man. I think one of their bigger issues is that the best player on their team is going to be guarded by Anthony Davis. And I don't want to show my hand too much here. I mean, I'm about to give a prediction, but I was going to let you do it first. But I just think the fact they're going to have their best player being guarded by one of the best defensive players in the league, straight up. And the Lakers are just a really hard defensive team in general. I mean, they get so much criticism for their offensive ability, and sometimes they're very on or they're off, and their shot selection isn't the best. And Caruso is not the most consistent guy. Rondo is not the most consistent guy. And although, to be fair, playoff Rondo is real, like straight up. People forget. Playoff Rondo is legitimately one of the top 15 players in the league, straight up. I mean, you saw it in New Orleans, you saw it in Chicago, you saw it in Boston. Dude's legit when it comes to the playoffs. But, again, another good season, he's not consistent. Kuzma is never consistent, ever. So I get why people get mad about the Lakers, and not really mad, but they criticize the Lakers for being this way or they're being that way, or maybe they'll have a game one letdown like they did with the Rockets and the Blazers. But that ability always shines through in the later parts of the series with their defensive ability, and they have really good coaching too. I feel like it's something that, I mean, as much as we talk about LeBron and AD just being dominant, they're really well coached roster, because I just feel like they get a lot out, especially on the defensive side of the ball, with a lot of those guys like Caruso, like Rondo, like Kuzma, who KCP, even fucking Dion Waiters, like these dudes who have come in and have contributed a lot just on the defensive side of the ball and occasionally offensively too. But I think they're getting a lot out of these players who are pretty much just a meme team. But I'll throw it right back to you now. Who you got in the Western Conference Finals?
Man, it's never easy. I think especially this year with everything that's kind of gone on and kind of the wave of people showing up, and then this Nuggets team, man. One of the best Cinderella stories ever, man. I have to admit. I mean, it's just a matter of can they carry it, and I don't know if they'll be able to. I mean, like you said, their best players need to be guarded by Anthony Davis. I almost wonder how that head-to-head matchup is throughout the year. I don't think we'll be able to pull up the stats on that now. Maybe I'll do that after the podcast. But I that's the big issue, like you said. And I mean, if those guys can just put in a work on Jamal Murray, who's been their guy, and shut him down and shut down their big man, I mean, they should be able to do it. And I think if there's a team to do it, it would be the Lakers. It's just a matter of can they do it. I thought the other team that would be able to do that would have been the Jazz with Rudy and Don, but that wasn't the case. They got close, couldn't do it. But I have to take the Lakers here, man. Lakers in 6, 7 maybe. if it goes that distance. But we'll have to see. Obviously, we'll have to see how the matchup plays out, and who knows? We could be absolutely wrong, and the Nuggets could come out hot and show us what they're made of.
Yeah, I think that the Nuggets have a really good shot at taking the series, but at the same time, I'm gonna go Lakers in either 5 or 6. I think with this Nuggets team, they tend to be a team that rebounds and they get hotter as the series goes on. But going down 3-1 to a team like the Lakers, I just don't see them coming back from it. And I just think that team right now, they're so hot. And same thing for the Nuggets too. But at a certain point, you're gonna collapse. You can only go to so many of these game sevens. You can only fight so hard after going down before you start to get drained, man. And you saw it, like you saw it near the end of that Jazz series, of those dudes starting to wear down, and maybe that's part of the reason why they got off to a down 3-1 to the Clippers. And they still ended up winning, but I don't think if they go down in the series against the Lakers, I don't think they're going to be able to come back. And so, yeah, man, I'm going to go with LA, and that's insane to me because never at the start of the year would I think we'd be getting a Lakers versus Heat, Miami Heat finals, which is what, that's where we're both thinking. I mean, that would be insane to me that if we got that, because, we both said Miami's an under-the-radar team, but, I mean, shit, finals team? Like, that's absolutely insane to me. What do you think, like, that potential series, like, would you be excited for that potential series in the finals?
I mean, I think no matter what, if the Heat end up there, I'll be excited because that was just like I said, that was the dark horse team that kind of came up throughout the year, and I was like, dude, they're there, they're lingering. I think there's potential. I didn't think at all, like prior to the year, just because of the addition of Jimmy Butler, that they were going to be successful just because of Jimmy Butler. I did not see that possibility, but certain things came into light that just worked out with them. Goran Dragic came back. Obviously, the rookies who showed up and showed their potential, and then they picked up the couple just nice pieces, Jay Crowder, Iguodala, just guys who play their role and do their thing, and that's it. And it just helps the team out so much. And obviously, Bam just continuing to grow as a player. Just kind of like almost a perfect story for them.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's just a hell of a story, and I feel like we've been one of the people more. I don't want to take shots at anybody, but I feel like we've been keeping an eye on the Heat longer than most people have, and we would, whenever the NBA season was ongoing, we were talking about them pretty much every single week as a team that could be a potential dark horse, and here we are, man. I mean, they're in the East Conference Finals. They're up right now. Obviously, it's early, and we both did pick them to go to the finals. That would be an incredible story if that were to happen. And I think that potential matchup, man, I'll be honest, I have no idea who to pick in that one. I think both those teams are very defensive minded. I mean, as much as star power, I mean, LA has a good offense too, and so does Miami, but they're very good at locking down teams, and I think it'd be very, very interesting to watch, man. Just that ongoing battle of like Ben versus AD, you know what I mean? Like stuff like that, those little matchups throughout the series. Rondo going against his former teammate, like that'd be it'd be pretty interesting. So hope to see that potentially happen. That'd be absolutely awesome. But we won't know for probably another week or two. But still going to be hype when it does happen. Moving on to last topic of the day, because I believe there's no boxing. Now, Angels typically has his ear to the ground better than I do when it comes to boxing. But
I mean, there's some stuff going on, but nothing I want to talk about this week.
Yeah, fair enough. So last topic. Angel, did you watch anything of the NFL opening weekend?
I kept eyes on scores. I know a lot of stuff is happening. I cannot comment on anything, though, personally. But I've heard.
He's heard. Well, listen, this is obviously just my view. I'm gonna talk about it real quick.
By the way, I'm happy you brought this up because I wanted to ask you. I wanted to make a segment. Idiot ass football. That was me. And then I would ask you about football and things that are going on. But feel free to take the lead.
I love talking about football. I mean, I was talking to somebody a couple of days ago, and they're like in a fantasy league, but they don't know a whole lot about football, and I was just giving them all the fucking advice in the world. So, I mean, any questions you got, I'm always down to answer.
But, no, you're fine. But I just want to hear your takes.
My takes? Well, I mean, where to start? I guess we could start up in Tampa Bay. I mean, listen, I've told everybody this entire offseason, Tampa Bay, they have a really good roster, right? They're playing up at New Orleans, and I told everybody Week 1, they're going to get trounced. Week 1, they're going to get their asses kicked. I mean, you're looking at a squad, no preseason. Guys like Gronkowski, who's been out for a year. He took a year off. He's older now. He's going to take time to get into that system. No preseasons. These dudes are going to look sloppier anyway. You get a 43-year-old Tom Brady who, I mean, if we're being honest, he probably should have retired after last year. I'm not sure how this is going to go, his stint in Tampa. I mean, he looked good on Sunday. Everybody gave Tom a lot of shit because he did throw 2 interceptions. One of those was a bad play by Mike Evans where it was just a misread, and the other one was just a bad throw, which happens. He still put up 3 touchdowns, 1 rushing. So overall, a good performance by him. Mike Evans was hurt. Gronkowski's taken a while to get into the system. But I tell everybody, don't freak out when they lose game 1, and they lost game 1 badly. They lost by 11 points. And they also scored a touchdown. They spent the majority of that game down. I mean, they scored the opening touchdown, but that was it. They were losing the entirety of that game. So the score made it look closer than it actually was because they scored on some points near the end.
Okay.
Chiefs look good. I think, the fans booed during the moment of unity, but that was the only time they'd be booing all night. I mean,
God.
I thought I had a really funny tweet and nobody gave a shit. It was like, so Sammy Watkins had 3 touchdowns. 2 of them were called back. He was short of the goal line both times. And then after the third one, I said, I'm glad that they gave Sammy Watkins a touchdown there. If not, Chiefs fans were going to boo like it was a moment of unity. So, pretty embarrassing because we're one of the 4 teams that has fans right now. It was us in Jacksonville, which Jacksonville also won. So maybe there's something there, but dude. And then other storylines around the league real quick. Cam Newton getting his first win as a Patriot. Cam looked great. I mean, he looked. They were using him a lot in the scrambles, which for a dude who's been pretty much injured and out the last year and a half, dude was running all over the place, man. They had him run 15 times. So, but Cam looked great. 2 touchdowns on the ground. I think that's. I mean, Cowboys suck still, so that's fun. I love seeing the Cowboys lose. Who doesn't? Yeah, on the fantasy side, my biggest disappointment. I'm in a 14-man league with some boys. My boys, shout out TJ, Energy Pulse on Twitch. If you guys want to give him a follow. I gotta plug my mans. But I'm in a league with a buddy, and I lost. I was down by 8 going into Monday, and I had my kicker playing, and I'm like. My kicker, Steven Gostkowski, one of the most consistent guys in the league. 4-time Pro Bowler. He was the kicker for New England the last 3 Super Bowls that they've won. He went to Tennessee this last offseason, playing Monday Night Football, prime time, last game of the week. It's like 10 o'clock. It started super late for no reason at all. It was in Denver. It doesn't make any sense. There's no time change. Anyways, I'm watching. My man's misses 4 kicks. He misses 4 kicks. And I end up losing. What the fuck, Gostkowski? What are you doing, man? Well, I've never been more upset because I've lost in fantasy sports a lot. I've been playing fantasy football / basketball for a consistent 5. Basketball, Angel, what do you say? Probably 5 years I've been doing this now. Like you and me in the league. But football, I've been playing for probably 10. I used to play it with a friend, my family, and then I made a league with friends and. Now I've joined more competitive leagues and stuff like that, and I've never been more heartbroken than watching Steven Gostkowski miss 4 fucking kicks in pride. They still won the game, but he made 1 final kick, which won them the game, but that was the only kick he made all night. So that broke my heart. Easily that broke my freaking heart, man. Now I'm 0-1. It was just absolutely disgusting, which sucked too because I had other players go off, like Adrian Peterson, who wasn't supposed to go off, and he went off, and it was a whole thing. But real quick, final subject on NFL opening weekend. No fans is weird. That's about it. I mean, the MLB is doing the thing where they won't have crowd noise, they'll have music playing, right? Or if it's Fox, they'll have the fake fans, and virtual fans looks fucking ridiculous, but it's hilarious. It's hilariously bad. And at least your mind is kind of like, oh, those are fake fans there. In basketball, they have the fans on the screen. MMA has no fans. What are other sports? Boxing has no fans, but stuff like that. NFL had no fans outside of the Jaguars and the Chiefs game, and I know there's 2 other stadiums that are going to be having fans next week. But they had the crowd noise. So you heard noise, but there was nothing there. And even if it's fake fans, it's still bizarre, but it's good to see. It's just weird. I don't know, man. Especially the Patriots game. I watched the Patriots game. That was the first game of the day, and I was watching Cam Newton, and they had, for whatever reason, they had a bunch of wide crowd shots, and there was just crowd noise, but with nobody there. It was just really bizarre. Angel, do you have any questions, or did I cover it all?
Okay, Josh. Browns after week one. Nothing, something, or everything.
Well, I think the Browns are a team that they could be good. I think the Browns have so much talent, but they're going through, new head coach. They're going up against the Ravens, who were one of the best teams in the league last year. To say the best team, but they weren't. Especially not in the playoffs. But they're a very consistent team, and I thought maybe I was debating picking like the Browns like an upset. You know what I mean? Like I was doing like a picks thing.
Good thing you didn't, right?
No. Of course not. Because they got fucking trounced. Lamar Jackson, he's a beast, man. He's a regular season. He is the Giannis of the NFL. That is who Lamar Jackson is. That play style does not do well in the playoffs, which is why they've gotten bounced 2 years in a row in their first game. But I'll be damned if it's not fun to watch in the regular season. But yeah, Browns, Baker Mayfield, if they keep on losing, he's going to be out. OBJ is disappointing as hell. I'm not sure what happened to Odell Beckham Jr. It's a really shitty situation.
The drugs, man. No,
it's dropping balls, dropping loads everywhere. You know what I mean? Super shitty situation going on there. I mean, he got 1,000 yards last year, but that was they just fed him the ball the entire time. And then he got 1,000 yards the year before, but damn, he sucked Sunday, man. And he wasn't very good last year. He got 1,000 yards barely, but whenever you are like the only, outside of Jarvis Landry, you're the only person on the roster that can catch, that's very disappointing. 3 catches for 22 yards. I feel like part of the thing is like they feels like they're trying to force the ball to OBJ because he'll get mad otherwise, because he's one of those guys who like commands the ball. You know what I mean? Like there's wide receivers like that. But is there anything else? Because I watched I did not watch every single game.
But you watched almost.
I almost, because dude, I'm trying to take football more seriously this year. Last year I was into it, mostly just the Chiefs. Like, I have multiple fantasy leagues, bro. Like, I'm keeping an eye on. I've got my ear to the ground and everything. All right.
But now you're back. But going into week 2, Josh, what do you have to tell us?
Going into week 2, I don't know who plays week 2. Let me pull up a schedule real quick, because I mean, I don't think a whole lot is going to change from week 1. I think, generally speaking, the whole thing of what is it? These teams are going to take a while to develop, in terms of them getting better, because there's no preseason. And a lot of the new coaching situations, I feel like most teams lost that didn't have, that actually had new coaches. But real quick, Browns, Bengals, by the time this gets uploaded, you guys will know the result. But that's a big game right there. I think if the Browns lose that game right there, I think Baker's already going to be on the hot seat. That team is way too good. There's way too much talent on it. Like, they should have, like, if I were to guess, 4 Pro Bowlers on the offense between Kareem Hunt, Nick Chubb, OBJ, and Jarvis Landry. There's way too much talent there for them to lose to a Bengals team, which were the worst team of the year last year. Worst team in the league last year. They got Joe Burrow. They got him first overall. He looked good Sunday, but against the Chargers, that doesn't mean a whole lot. Chargers are a team without an identity. What else happening? I mean, Falcons, Cowboys, that one should be a fun game. Broncos, Steelers. Steelers are an interesting team for me. I mean, Ben Roethlisberger is coming off a really bad injury. I thought he was going to retire. He looked fat as fuck out there, but Captain Fat Fuck can really keep on throwing the ball. I try not to insult players and fighters, but listen, I've heard nothing but terrible things about Ben Roethlisberger as a human, so whatever, fuck him. Bills, Dolphins should be a fun game, just for the pure fact of I'm curious if they're going to bench Ryan Fitztragic already. It's either Ryan Fitzpatrick or Ryan Fitzmagic, and it was Fitztragic on Sunday against Patriots, 3 interceptions. Arizona Cardinals taking on the Washington football team. Arizona, man, keep an eye on them. I told you all they were a dark horse in that NFC West, and then they beat the 49ers on Sunday. They got potential, man, to steal that division or at the very least make some noise because there's going to be more teams in the playoffs this year. Because, I mean, I think it's permanent. So they changed it to there being 7 teams, which is I don't like. I like having only 6 teams from each conference. I feel like it makes it more exclusive, but whatever. 7 teams. I think they can make it playoffs, man. They're taking on Washington. Washington got a good win Sunday, beat Philadelphia, very big upset. Pats, Seahawks, and primetime on Sunday should be a lot of fun. Ravens are going to stomp the shit out of the Texans. I think that's about it. And then Chiefs, Chargers, which the Chargers are going to get gacked. I mean, there's no other way to say it. The Chargers are a team without an identity, like I said. They won Sunday, but they are the most average team I've ever seen. Like, nothing inspires hope out of that team. Like, nothing. Like, Austin Eckler's good, but he's just kind of good. You know what I mean? Like, Tyrod Taylor's a good quarterback, but he's a good quarterback in the way that Alex Smith is. He's not going to win you games. Like, Alex Smith did win games near the end of his KC tenure, like, just by the pure ability. Like, he's not going to force you into anything. He's just going to throw the check down passes. He's going to hit the open guys. He'll run out of the pocket, but he won't ever get 300 yards. That's who Tyrod Taylor is. Their defense is perfectly average. The kicking game is average. Chargers are extremely fucking average. Okay? So Chiefs are going to win that one. So.
I love it, Josh. Any surprises or any players you saw that, you know, were like, you know, that made you think like, oh, okay, this should be interesting. Is he rising up, or what do you have to say?
I mean, Kyler Murray, I think this is his breakout year. I mentioned the Cardinals earlier. Kyler Murray out of Oklahoma last year, I want to say he was the rookie of the year, okay? But still, a lot of people weren't entirely sold on him. I mean, he's a shorter guy. He's 5'10" in the way that I'm 5'10", okay? He's dead ass like 5'8", and he's playing quarterback, which is that's you never see that. Like the tallest quarterback right now before Kyler Murray was like Russell Wilson, who's like 5'11" and 3/4. Okay, Kyler Murray's a legit 5'8", playing quarterback out there, and he dominated Sunday. He put up 230 yards passing, a touchdown. He did have an interception, but put another 91 yards on the ground and a touchdown. He's facing Washington this week. He's going to have a lot of fun with DeAndre Hopkins, who we got in the offseason. Speaking of DeAndre Hopkins, David Johnson. He was on the other side of one of the worst trades in NFL history. DeAndre Hopkins, one of the best receivers in the NFL. Number 1, far and away. And he got traded for like a 4th and a 6th rounder and David Johnson. David Johnson was a former Pro Bowler, but he has not done shit since like 2016. Texans got him. He put up 77 yards rushing and a touchdown, and then he put up another like 50 yards receiving against the Chiefs on last Thursday. I think he has potential. I think the way they're going to integrate him in that system, he's going to look really, really good. He looks really, really good on Thursday. Obviously, it's early, but I think the dude has a lot of potential to make some noise in Houston. They're going to get smacked on Sunday. That doesn't make any difference. Like, they're going to get destroyed by the Ravens. But yeah, I mean, in terms of other stuff to keep an eye on, and who else? I mean, keep an eye on Tampa, because I think if Tampa loses this week, and it's similar to the Browns thing, if Tampa loses this week, you might want to pull the trigger. Like, you might want to we're going to get a very early look to see if this team's worth anything at all, because they're facing the Panthers. Panthers have good offense, but really only one really, really good weapon in Christian McCaffrey. And then on the defensive side of the ball, they're terrible. If guys like Gronk and Brady and they don't get going, on Sunday in that game, really just that'd be really worrying. So this is more, keep like games and players keep an eye on. Keep an eye on that Panthers Buccaneers game. If the Bucs don't win that one, yikes, man. I mean, that'd be a major yikes right there, man. That would be a really bad loss for them.
Alrighty, Josh. I like it.
Yep. I think I covered a fair bit there. I think I talked about almost every single team.
It's beautiful.
Except for the Raiders. Fuck the Raiders. There we go. Let's get that one. This is the Courtside Soundoff podcast. If you guys enjoyed, we just launched on, we're available everywhere. I do the normal plugs. If you listen to this podcast at all, ever, we're on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, iTunes, TuneIn, just got added. You're part of the launch lineup with Amazon Podcasts. If you guys want to go over there and give us a follow, show us some love over there, because we just got added, and it launched today as we're filming, like 3 or 4 hours ago. So if you guys are going to go out there, give us a follow. You don't even need an Amazon Music account. You just need an Amazon account. Give us a follow. Give us some support. Maybe get us on that trending chart if you want. But yeah, I'm at Courtside Sound1 on Twitter. He's at __01. I'm actually I said the podcast Twitter for mine. I'm at Josh Evanoff. Podcast is at Courtside Sound1. You can also find us on Instagram, Facebook. We don't really post on those. Just show us some love on the YouTube and all the places to listen. So thanks guys for listening as always. So peace and butt grease. Mouse click.